Vic Fangio has done a terrific job with the Eagles, and he isn't counting or even wanting a trade. But Howie Roseman, he's thinking something else altogether. He's thinking, trade big or go home. Dallas still stinks. Yo, by the way, Dingbat here, and the Eagles are sitting at 5-2, and we're less than a week away from the trade deadline. This team is a team that can legitimately go to the Super Bowl. They are contenders, and that is why I gotta believe Howie Roseman this week is looking to make a deal to make this team better. Most likely on defense, and even though a guy like Vic Fangio may not want it, it's something that Howie Roseman is going to look to do. It just makes a lot of sense. And let me tell you, that game on Sunday versus the Bengals, I thought was the best the Eagles have looked all year. And I expect them to get better. I expect them to continue to improve as the season goes on. And I think you're going to see that. That being said, the Eagles play the Jacksonville Jaguars this week. Kelly Green game, going to be fantastic. This team's going to be 6-2. They're going to be 6-2, and they've got a legitimate chance to win the division and to do damage in the playoffs. So why on earth would the Eagles not look to get somebody to help put them over the top, help them get to the NFC Championship game? If Detroit is really looked upon as the best team in the conference right now, and they're looking at getting a pass rusher, then by all means, the Eagles, who are really competitors to the Detroit Lions, need to go out and beat them to the punch. That's how I look at it. That's the way I absolutely see it. And listen, there's a lot of names floating around. The Myles Garretts, the Max Crosbys. We've heard all those guys. And the truth of the matter is, those guys probably aren't going to get moved. They're probably not. And if you said to me, Philly, what would your dream scenario be? It isn't Myles Garrett, and it isn't Max Crosby. To be quite honest with you, I think if you're going to do this, I say go big or go home. Go out and get somebody, not just that's going to influence you for the year, or be part of this year, but go out and get somebody that'll be here long term. That's why I think the move, and this is not something that I'm saying is going to happen, and I talked about this yesterday, but if I had to go out and get somebody right now, I would make a play at Travon Walker. I would go after him. Why? Well, because the Jaguars, they stink. They're going to lose again this Sunday. And they just paid Josh Allen, north of $30 million. So what are they going to go? Extend Travon Walker around $30 million? Do you know Travon Walker right now has more sacks than Josh Allen? Somebody in my chat, I forget who it was, I think it was Bonzology, shouted him, said he's on pace for 17 sacks this year. Travon Walker is having a really good year. I mean, check this out. He's got 6.5 sacks. He had 10 sacks last year, 6.5 sacks this year, and he's the perfect kind of guy that Howie Roseman would like. Why? Because he's still on a rookie deal, and he still has another year after this. So if the Eagles were able to somehow trade for him, he would still be under contract next year. He's 23 years old. If you got him, this would be a long-term proposition. Remember, you're going to lose Josh Sweat at the end of the year. You're going to lose Brandon Graham unless he decides not to retire. But most likely he will retire at the end of the year. So you're going to be in the market for a pass rusher. Well, here's a guy that has 10 sacks last year, on his way to double-digit sacks this year. And he knows a lot of the guys on your team. He knows Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith, Nakobe Dean. He played with them at Georgia. I think Travon Walker would be the sneaky surprise trade that nobody would see coming. Now, I'm not saying it's possible. I'm not saying it at all. All I'm saying is if I had my dream scenario, that's where I would go. Because of his age and because I think he's an ascending player over the years, as where you have guys like Myles Garrett who are fantastic, but they're older and they're already getting a ton more money. So that's where I would love to go if I was the Eagles. Now, the truth of the matter is, I don't know that the Eagles are going to want to do that. The Eagles, they might not have the opportunity to get a guy like Walker. It may just not happen. And if that's the case, then so be it. The other guy I think we got to look at that could be a possible legitimate option for the Eagles, and somebody who is going to get moved, and I'm talking about Za'Darius Smith. Because Za'Darius Smith, who has 5 sacks on the year, even though he's 32 years old, he is going to be moved soon. That's at least what we're hearing from Adam Schefter. According to Adam Schefter, who appeared on the Pat McAfee show Monday morning, Za'Darius Smith is likely to be traded by the Cleveland Browns before the deadline on November 5th. While Schefter did not confirm this to be from the organization, it would make sense for the Browns to get value for the 32-year-old pass rusher who had a solid season so far. Through 8 games this year, Smith has registered 5 sacks, 22 tackles, as well as 71.4 overall grade from PFF. The Browns will not receive, and this could be the biggest part and biggest factor in this whole thing, the Browns will not receive substantial compensation for Smith. But sitting at 2-6, even coming off a divisional win over the Ravens, it makes the most sense to get value for him as they look to retool for the future. So when you look at Za'Darius Smith, he may not be my dream situation. He may not be the guy I definitely would want to get. I would rather have Garrett and Crosby over him. However, those guys you would have to pay big draft compensation for those guys. Darius Smith, you would not, and he's good enough to possibly come in there and give you some good sacks. So I think Za'Darius Smith is very possible scenario for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think this is something that very well could happen depending upon how interested the Eagles are in him and how much they think he would fit what they do. But he would be more of a 1-year type guy. I don't think he's going to be, there for 3-4 years. Travon Walker, the thing I loved about that situation is if you somehow could pull that off, you were set to go for the next 7 years. He's a part of the team. Za'Darius Smith, he could help you immediately, I believe. And we've heard stuff about guys like KHALIL and things like that. KHALIL, I like him. How much does he have left? And would the Chargers be willing to trade him? Another option, and this doesn't really toot my boat, so to speak. Okay, but another guy that we're hearing could be possibly traded by the trade deadline is Emmanuel Ogbah. Now, I liked Ogbah in the future. I think 2021, 2022, he had 9 sacks each of those years, but he's kind of dropped off. In the years after. He has 2 sacks on the season. He's been banged up a little bit banged up this year, but he's a guy that Vic Fangio knows, and Vic Fangio knows how to use him certain ways. And from a depth perspective, he may be a guy that the Eagles would look at bringing in. It's very possible. We're also hearing Chase Young. We're hearing a lot of different names, but I think the most realistic and probably the one that I could live with is Za'Darius Smith, because you don't have to give a lot of compensation. I think he would come in, and I think he would be effective. But, we'll see. And the one that I'm definitely interested in, Travon Walker. I think if you could somehow steal him from the Jags because they don't want to pay him what they're paying Josh Allen, you do it, okay? That's what I would say. But we're not sure that the Jaguars would do that. And it's going to be interesting because, like I said, we're less than a week away. I expect the Eagles to do something. Hopefully, none of these guys have been traded by the time this video comes out. It's very possible Za'Darius Smith is already gone. And Detroit is going to try to jump in on that. You just know it. It's going to happen. So we'll see. Going to be an interesting few days, that's for sure. And, no matter what happens, trade deadline wise, let me say this. As Mark Holmes stuffs his fat face, stuffs it after food, clam chowder, wings, glizzy after glizzy after glizzy, he just keeps eating. I'll tell you what, while he's doing that, eating his problems away, the Eagles, even if they don't do a trade, it's not the end of the world. If they come out and they don't trade anybody, it ain't the end of the world. I like some of the young guys we got going on here. I think Nolan Smith is getting better each week. Nolan Smith looks like he's on pace to have 8 to 10 sacks. If we get that out of him, that's big time. Now, you still need another pass rusher, I think. Where's Josh Sweat? He's been non-existent. Brandon Graham, he's in his last year. So you're going to need somebody. But Nolan Smith has been coming on, and I'm very happy with what we're seeing from him. At the linebacker, I couldn't be happier with Bond. I couldn't be happier with Nakobe Dean and the way they played. And then you got the two corners. I mean, I don't know that Howie has really ever had as good of a draft defensively as it looks like we got now. Cooper DeJean was a second-round pick. Second-round pick. He looks like an absolute steal. Okay? I said this in my live stream yesterday. I'm going to say it today. There is no way in hell Avonte Maddox, with his big-ass bubbly toe, could have made that tackle on fourth down on Jamar Chase. He is not going to do it. We've seen him miss before. He starts running and that big old swollen toe gets in the way and he misses the tackle. It happens all the time. He's like Fred Flintstone running out there with that big-ass toe. That's what he looks like, okay? Avonte Maddox would not have made that play. Cooper DeJean, ever since he's come in as a starter in the slot, the defense has really settled down. Because really the biggest hole, and we've talked about this early in the year before DeJean started really getting reps, was the biggest problem in the secondary was Avonte Maddox. He was the biggest problem. So Cooper DeJean, absolutely fantastic. Quinyon Mitchell, I just look at him as like number one shutdown corner. He's just going to shut your best guy down. You got no chance. He's really something, man. He's really something. And I would keep playing Isaiah Rodgers. I would. I mean, listen, Slay hasn't been bad. I'm not going to complain about Slay. But, man, this kid is young, too. I would like to get him extended to a contract. And I'd like to see those three young guys be my corners for years to come. I think the Eagles would absolutely be fine. So they've got a lot of young guys that really, I think, are playing good football. And this defense is going to get better and better. Okay? So, yes, would I like to make a trade for a pass rusher? Yes, I would. However, if they don't do it, if we don't make any trades, it's not the end of the world. That said, Howie, get off your ass and get on the phone, all right? With that said, take care. Talk to you later, of course. Don't be a dingbat. Remember, it's Howie Vision, baby. We're all just living in it.
Well, we're trying to step up our game here. Now the Cowboys need to step it up.
No, is this the third one in a row?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Come on now. Why? We don't need you 3 times in a row, sir.
Forgive me.
Yeah, because you were commentating, sir.
That's all, folks.
The brother screwed us.